Hello, everybody. I'm Zachary O'Neill, and I appreciate all of y'all for having me today, being able to present to y'all the kind of viewpoint on drones, ethics, airspace, and a Christian perspective on UAS regulation. Today, I'm going to be going over many different topics, including drones, ethics, and airspace, UAS regulation by local government and many different organizations, a few different case laws, and kind of the ethical background is how we should be using drones in today's society, including many different areas of concerns. Thank you, and I can't wait to get started. Some of the reasons why drones are a growing concern, a growing technology, and a movement for future technologies, including many different factors. They're starting to grow and revolutionize many different industries as far as the speed we're able to do things and make things happen. First thing I'll be going over is military. Military drones, we know the ones that you see in the video games, the UAVs, the ones that are tracking radar, and nowadays they're a growing force. I'm talking unmanned planes doing combat missions. This is a newer technology, but there is the smaller drones we see personalized being used in the Ukraine and Russian war in terrible ways. So this is another ethical matter that can be talked about. It's horrible, and God wouldn't want this. And as a Christian point of view, we have to talk about it and realize that it is messed up. But there is some good sides also to these aviation drones and these UAS systems. Agriculture being used to go out and video the crop, spray it, dust it with the pesticides, and make sure the crop comes out good. You see it today nowadays also with Walmart and Amazon and all these different giant corporations using these drones to drop off packages in rural areas. It's also being used in entertainment, doing light shows, creating, instead of fireworks, which can be known to be dangerous, they're creating big shapes in the skies, dragons, doing all types of cool things for entertainment. It's a little bit safer than the fireworks. They also have, sports leagues for drones, doing races, and as well as construction, going up and videoing the building they're making, the engineering behind it, and making sure it's all secure and good to go without having to send a body up there. The UAS and the NAS, the UAS and the NAS, National Airspace, are correlated. The NAS has been tasked by the FAA to safely integrate these systems into our airspace. These include making rules and regulations for these unmanned aircraft systems. The federal and state level conflicts that we're seeing from UAS and drones, they're conflicting with each other because the FAA will have regulations in an area and the local state laws will have regulations in the area. Normally, what I've been seeing is if people have been getting in trouble with these drones or flying in an airspace they're not supposed to do or doing something with the law that is illegal, it has to go to trial, or they'll try to fight it, and it'll be in between the federal and local law and deemed whether it's state or local or federal. ethically, it falls into what if they're doing is right or wrong, right? So federal or local, we need to look at it as a Christian point of view and kind of deem whether these drones are doing the right thing or not. There's been many real privacy concerns with all of these drones flying around. People having fun just flying their drones around they bought from the tech store, and they'll fly over people's backyards while they're swimming or have their kids, doing whatever. And it's interesting because people don't want this. Of course, they don't want to be recorded while they're in their own backyard behind their fences where they're having family time. Military applications is a little bit different. They're flying, a mile high with 8 Ultra HD cameras, but they really are only going to do that to find a specific target that they deem necessary. People shouldn't really worry about that too much, but there is concerns here. People in their backyards, people at parks, golf courses. There's drones flying all over the place, growing more and more each day. So people are concerned ethically standpoint. Or do they want to get recorded? The answer is no. So how is the best way morally and ethically to deem this? And it's a tricky question. So drones are rapidly developing in many different sectors, advancing, and kind of in the last slide I'll go over some more privacy. Of course, people want their privacy, and ethically, that's the right thing to do. They don't want drones flying over when they're with their family or at the parks. But the innovation of it is that they need these drones for the new jobs that they're creating with the power lines and with the engineering and with the fireworks and with the military and with the delivery. So as far as privacy, there is a concern there, and the innovation is also there as well, and we have to find kind of that middle ground to balance that out and make sure that people feel ethically and morally safe and sound with all of these drones in the area. A little bit about the case law, Singer versus Newton. This case was with the involvement in the privacy of the FAA that invalidated local law by allowing people to fly drones freely without registering locally through the state law. The local state law banned flights over property under 400 feet and banned any flights over public property under 400 feet. And the courts ruled this did not align with the UAS system and the FAA regulations, so the person was deemed innocent. Another case law I went over in my paper was the race day quads versus the FAA. In this case, it argued that the FAA was overreaching by regulating, by requiring remote IDs for the people to fly the drones. These remote IDs are put in the controllers of the drones and also in the drones to monitor and detect if any drones go in a airspace where they're not allowed to go, also where the location of the pilot is. So this kind of promotes ethical backgrounds, in my opinion, that if someone were to do something wrong, that they should face the consequences of it. Flying over people's houses that want privacy, or going into airspace where it's dangerous, or just doing something reckless, or crashing into a vehicle or into a house or anything like that. There needs to be a tracking system, and this is what Race Day Quads versus FAA was about. And it ended up FAA deemed that there still needs to be tracking devices. California versus Carollo, where it says that the sky surveillance without a warrant does not violate the Fourth Amendment and can be used to go back to when having cases about privacy concerns to this day. This to me is concerning because people can fly their drones in public space and record their backyards because they were on public property and it was deemed okay because it did not violate the Fourth Amendment law. Ethical, I would say that this could be a problem with the UAS and the drones, is the privacy behind it. And as Christians, we have to realize that not all innovation can be good if people feel like they're not safe or that their privacy is being intruded. Drone countermeasures is an increasing task that the military and police officers are being equipped with because the increasing technology of the drones. Onboard Navy vessels are using lasers, missiles, nets, and machine guns to help bring down these drones. And police are also getting newer technology to help prevent the flying of drones in dangerous areas or in airspace. The ethical and biblical reflection can be tricky because diving into this situation, Christianity background says that we should respect your neighbor and treat everybody how you want to be treated with dignity and caring for others. When people are flying drones into people's area that they feel their privacy was intruded, that's not right. Um, so, the Bible says every person is made in the image of God and that people should have privacy and dignity. So, flying these drones and doing surveillance and taking these pictures can be dangerous, and people don't want that. So, that's kind of where we stand today. Golden rule in aviation. As aviators, we should apply the golden rule as Christian aviators. If we don't want to be watching film, we should not do that to others as well. This is ethically and morally sound to me, and we have to talk about it as Christians. If with the local and federal law, how we should go about this situation. Balancing privacy with innovation can be tricky because the innovation and technology for these drones are advancing. People want innovation to make things easier for them with the construction, with the entertainment, with the delivery, with the crops, agriculture, engineering, um, military applications as well. But people also want privacy. The government and the local regulators need to talk to people who want their religious beliefs respected as well, to all come together and balance this in harmony. My recommendations are to respect people's Christian beliefs, and ethically, if they do not want to be filmed with a drone without their consent, then we should respect that. But we should continue to develop the drones and use them in a good way, if possible. There's many different applications for drones that can be used to make the world a better place without having to record everything and just fly wherever they want to fly. There has to be the rules that are set in place to make sure everybody is feeling safe. My conclusion and final thoughts regarding all of these topics about UAS and drones, case law and studies that have been done. In conclusion, drones can be used in many ways, for good and for bad. People who use them should be held responsible by the FAA or local regulators to respect the rules, using the tracking devices to make sure they are held responsible. Privacy and ethics come into play when using drones and UAS systems, and we need to be firm firm on the regulations and standards that we use. Christianity brought into all of this, to me, all comes into play with the ethics and the words of God, is that we should all respect each other, love thy neighbor, treat others how you want to be treated.